these Democrats, oh, Biden, what a hero. You pushed him down a flight of stairs, kicking and screaming.
Right.
So that is a heck of a quote. And by the way, I don't think George Clooney gets to endorse anybody.
Yep.
George
I'm
Clooney's
not really a fan of Portnoy, but holy crap, this right here is exactly how a great portion, and I mean a great portion of moderates, independents, and those who are not really that politically engaged, that's how a lot of these people feel right now, especially given the fact that last night we had the current president of the United States, who hasn't actually resigned yet. For whatever reason, he decided he wanted to lecture us on democracy, even though his own political party is not exactly what we call democratic.
For my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think is more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. But this sacred task.
And you guys can obviously see that during that speech, there was a bit of a cringe there from TYT, the ultra-left progressive network, which has got somebody there, the girl, Anna Kasparian, who tends to every now and again have a common sense take, and the very, very dishonest Cenk Uygur. And of course, they're cringing over what they listened to last night, seeing how it is that they have to get behind Kamala to keep up the narrative. But then again, at the same time, though, as I explained in the previous video, white women are not exactly feeling Kamala Harris, and to go on top of that, Kamala Harris needs those white women to get on board. But of course, this right here was a small section of that video.
It isn't. It not only was her job not in jeopardy, she was just handed a promotion.
Is there anyone that Kamala Harris could appoint as her vice president that you would find reassuring?
I don't get a good feel for her.
I think she's an idiot.
Right.
Mary, why do you think that she's not that bright?
Because she hasn't done anything in the time that she's had. We don't know anything about her as far as her 3 years so far in the White House. She's not real smart.
It will be in the end cards, as well as the video that I released last night on this issue that, how do I say this? If somebody says there's something about this person, of course, if it's a white girl who is saying it about another woman, that woman is automatically cursed. Not trying to sound anti-woman or anything, just being real with you. And of course, the ladies, the base ladies who follow this channel, they obviously know this. But still, at the same time, though, once again, we got to go to the beanie guy. And of course, I talked about how it was pretty much an inevitability that the direction of the party, the identity politics, of course, we're going to go ahead and make Kamala Harris, whichever one you might want to call it. Of course, some people call it the Ugandan nightmare. I personally tend to think of the Finnish one because Kamala in Finnish means horrible, and obviously she's a horrible candidate. I did point out that in that video, in the previous video that was released, but the Beanie guy actually got it correct when he decided to cite off all the polls that show you exactly what type of chance that she has at winning this November.
To SoCal Research, general election, Trump beats Harris by 6. Another poll, they found Trump beating Harris by 8. Quinnipiac has Trump up 4. They have 4 polls, 1 up 4, 2, 5, and 3. So up on Kamala Harris, it's 4 points when you include Kennedy, Stein, West, and Oliver. And if it's just Trump v. Harris, it's 2. But of course, Kennedy is going to play a big role in this. These people are on the ballot, so that is an important factor. If it were Biden, he's up 5. We've got these other Harris polls. Look at this one from Harris X. I love that it's Harris X. Trump beats Kamala Harris by 8 points. And in a secondary poll, 6 points. Fascinating. When they make it Whitmer.
It's that bad. It's been that way for a while. She's never been ahead in any polling until right recently, and that right there is what we call the bounce. The honeymoon period is already disappearing. And by the way, to go on top of this, the campaign cash that she's supposed to be getting from the Biden side, well, let me explain that to you guys really quick before we go any further. So the Trump team has filed a lawsuit against Kamala Harris and the campaign staff, or the Biden-Harris team. You see, the biggest problem that Democrats have outside the balloting issue to replace Joe Biden this particular year, this particular election cycle, is the fact that the money, the donations, the campaign donations can only go to one person if he drops out. It can only go to his vice president. Part of the thing that was explained by Roland Martin in a previous video that I did on this very same topic on how it was that Democrats were stuck with her. And of course, you could even see it in the media with their narratives, how it was that they did not like Kamala a month ago, but now all of a sudden they love Kamala because obviously they got to get behind her. And even Obama, of all people, is not ready to endorse her. That right there should tell you something. But if you saw the video earlier, which, like I said, we'll be putting the end cards, we'll be putting the comment section for you guys, then you will know that that very, very, very important section of the vote that she needs, mostly white working class suburban women, especially those who even voted for Joe, are not exactly on her side. However, this video right here is about Portnoy and what he had to say, and we'll get to that here in a second. But also, Charlemagne the Fraud, he got some pushback from his audience too.
To help our children that's struggling in New York City public schools. They're not even on the same level as other kids in other countries. And that's what my concern is. So is something going to change because Kamala's running instead of Biden? Like, help me out. We're confused here.
Well, those are all valid questions. A lot of those things you named are local issues, though.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff you should be going to your local government with.
People are not exactly feeling Kamala Harris. People are not exactly feeling the left-wing influencers, the media that's trying to push her. And by the way, there will also be another video out tomorrow on this exact same topic. However, it is now the media suddenly deciding to tell the truth. And that's always funny to see because they always end up eating each other in the process. The fact of the matter is that this woman here is not popular. She's not liked. She's not liked by anybody. And they are also, at the exact same time, tinkering with the idea of making the white gay transportation secretary who presided over shortages when they first got in office, who, by the way, also presided over the East Palestine incident without actually doing anything. I find it kind of, let's just say it was tactically smart for Trump to name J.D. Vance as his VP, especially given the fact that J.D. is from Ohio and Mayor Pete, who, by the way, is now suddenly from Michigan when he was originally from Indiana. And, of course, he's also not exactly what we call straight. They expect to get Muslim votes. They expect to get votes in the Midwest from Muslim voters, even though Kamala Harris, of course, her husband is Jewish. Especially given the fact that you guys can see these Free Palestine protests that occurred yesterday in Washington, D.C. when Benjamin Netanyahu showed up. Yeah, it's not exactly looking like the best of prospects. But even if these people choose to say, you know what, I'm not going to vote, I'm going to stay home this election cycle, even if I choose to do all that, then yeah, she's got some serious problems. And that right there is what we're going to be discussing in this video here. So, about Portnoy. So, what is Portnoy going on about? Well, he went to Fox News to explain his disgust, and he also went there to call out people like George Clooney for going ahead and getting behind Kamala Harris. See, the thing is this right here. Democrats have been running on this whole democracy shtick. They've been running on this democracy shtick ever since 2021. In a lot of ways, it really started back in 2015-16 timeframe, but they've been running on this, and as you guys can obviously see with their current presidential candidate, Joe Biden, him being forced out does not exactly look like it was a bastion of democracy. It doesn't exactly look democratic. It looks like a coup. And the fact that these voters are now stuck with Kamala Harris, this right here is beginning to piss some people off. And seeing how it is that she was apparently handpicked now by the elites to the point to where even Barack Obama himself is not willing to endorse, it's pretty obvious that there are some people who are in fact upset. But before we get to Portnoy, let's talk about Charlemagne for a second. So this right here was the other day on Charlemagne the God's podcast, The Breakfast Club. Predominantly black audience. Now, I've talked about this before, that black men are going to have a hard time, in particular, voting for Kamala Harris. It's not just black men who are going to have a problem voting for Kamala Harris. As you guys will see, some black women will also have a bit of a problem as well. Now, there will be some circling of the wagons, and there'll be some reuniting coming behind her. But at the end of the day, this right here is just a small temporary bounce that's already beginning to go away because she's never really and truly been ahead of the orange guy in the polls. But let's pay attention to this.
Hey there. Oh, my God. Good morning.
Good morning, Iris. What's your thoughts, Mama?
Okay, so first let me say I'm so happy to see a woman brought up for president, and I'm grateful for that. However, does that mean I was on the fence even with Biden running again? Because everyone talks about, oh, let's get the black vote, let's get the black vote, and they get the black vote and nothing changes. And when I say nothing, I mean our education system. Our children are suffering in New York City public schools. And let's talk about services. My brother's paraplegic. He got hit by a drunken driver. It's very hard for him to get services. And I understand that they allow the migrants to come in, but they come in and they just overwhelm them with services. And they forget about the people that are already here. So what's going to change with that? What are they going to...
Okay, 41 seconds. Now, Kamala Harris was the border czar. And by the way, the mainstream media is going out of its way to once again tell you that she was never the border czar. Even though we've talked about this before, we've shown you guys the mainstream media saying it was Joe Biden himself saying she was the border czar. And we've had this border crisis for a while. God knows I've done a lot of videos on this. Well, the thing about the border crisis is this here, to try to make this as clear and concise as I can, is that these right here are the new voters that the Democratic Party plans on pandering to, Hispanic voters. And of course, these Hispanic voters are not going to feel good once they get over here and they realize that this party has gone full-blown woke. Well, in order for them to drop the wokeness at some point in time, they're going to have to abandon a certain section of their party. And of course, seeing how it is that black people, sadly, for a multitude of very, very bad reasons, very, very demonic reasons, are the smallest minority in the nation, outside the other category, which includes mostly Asian, Muslims, and Jewish, and the people who are Jewish. No pun intended, not trying to insult anybody or anything. I'm just saying that black people tend to be not the largest minority anymore. They used to be number 2 when it comes to overall racial demographics, but they've been overtaken by Hispanics. And Hispanics, of course, a lot of the ways is starting to split up. They're starting to go towards the Republican Party, which is putting the Democratic Party in a massive hole, a massive conundrum. Now, the point is this right here. Black people, especially those who live in these big cities, as I've explained in previous videos, are not liking the idea that Hispanics are taking up everything, meaning they're taking up local services, or taking up federal services. Also, to go on top of that, they're beginning to see that they are, in fact, being replaced. Now, there's other reasons, other things to talk about, but this right here is what black people, especially in these big cities, are starting to see. And, of course, they are a loyal bloc of the Democratic Party, the most loyal to be exact. But how does Charlemagne respond to this person? Well, check it out.
To help our children that's struggling in New York City public schools. They're not even on the same level as other kids in other countries. And that's what my concern is. So is something going to change because Kamala's running instead of Biden? Like, help me out. We're confused here.
Well, those are all valid questions. A lot of those things you named are local issues, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's stuff you should be going to your local government with.
I wonder if Charlemagne the fraud is just dumb or if it's just towing the line. I mean, because the truth be told is this right here is not really so much a local issue, especially given the fact that the president of the United States has the power to actually shut down the border. Now, Biden could have signed an executive order which would have allowed Border Patrol to actually do their job. You don't really need a border wall to actually secure the border, but still at the same time, though, a border wall was preferred. So that way you could ultimately cut back on overall resources going down there because it makes it harder for people to get across. Border Patrol agents can be moved to different sections of the federal government, maybe given different jobs, maybe go to U.S. Marshal Service, which, by the way, I hope would supplant at some point in time the FBI, because the FBI is completely, totally incompetent. But still, the point is this right here. This right here is not a local matter. Yes, it seems that way in scope, but of course these people are getting benefits that are, by the way, being given to them by the taxpayer, meaning it's also a federal matter too. I mean, how the hell do you think New York City can approve debit cards with $1,300 on? Well, they have to get a bit of a stipend from the federal government, which, by the way, comes from the taxpayer dollars. People are starting to see the writing on the wall, and they're beginning to get pissed off about this, so obviously they're going to vent their frustrations, especially with someone like Charlemagne. But this next guy right here, I think, really and truly captures the true spirit of what's really going on with the populace.
Morning for a decade now, from college to work. So I just want to say that.
We old,
so
baby. Let's go.
Man,
Thank you, Kevin.
Just new, but we old. We old.
Hey, man, oldness is greatness, you know?
You already know.
I don't think America's ready. I don't think America's ready for a female president. You know what? I'm a black man, and I absolutely do not want another Democratic president in there. I think we should give the Republicans another try. The Democratic Party has kind of put him into place that I don't support. I think they're destroying the black man. They're destroying the black family. I think they're ruining our country. And if you're living in New York like I am, man, this place is a financial nightmare, not to mention crime. I think if we put Trump back in there, man, it's going to be amazing. Kamala cannot do what he's going to do to bring this country back to where it needs to be. And this is not a race thing, because that's the number one thing they like to say when they talk about Trump and how he's a criminal and blah, 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 blah. I don't think any of that matters. His policies are what we need to focus on, and he's going to get us back where we need to go. Kamala is not ready.
Basically just told you right then and there, no more Democrats. He can see the writing on the wall. Young black male, probably entrepreneurial in spirit, probably wants to have a job. I mean, there is a bit of a schism going on in that section of voters, but still at the same time, though, he can obviously see the writing on the wall, and more than likely, some of these people are probably beginning to get pissed off with Charlemagne's constant bootlicking of the Democratic Party, especially for Kamala Harris. I can give you guys several examples, but if I did that, the video would be too long. But what happens to someone like, say, Portnoy? Now, I can already hear somebody saying Dave Portnoy is not a leftist, he's not a liberal. I don't know, man. I mean, Dave Portnoy really went out of his way to have a tyrannical meltdown when he found out that Roe v. Wade was being overturned. I think the real reason why he had a meltdown over it, because, of course, there were also a lot of men who had a meltdown because They thought that abortion was a constitutional right when in reality it's not. Roe v. Wade was just a court case that made abortion protected federally when it should have been at the state level. But of course, Dave Portnoy, he voted for Biden in 2020, shortly after interviewing Trump, having a nice sit down, which, by the way, would have been monumental for the Trump team going into that election. But Portnoy went out and voted for Biden, probably because of his shtick, but pizza restaurants and stuff, wanted the country to back up. I can understand that. I don't fully agree with it, but I can understand that. But Portnoy, of course, he's been living through the Biden economy, and now these people who have lectured people like him and everybody else about democracy, they see Joe Biden get replaced undemocratically with somebody that, quite frankly, they don't like, and now these people are, how do I say, coping with this. Check it out.
Again, I'm a libertarian. I'm very much pro-choice. I don't agree. I'm not religious really at all. So there's a lot on the right I don't agree with. But I fucking hate the left. I fucking hate the extreme left. And they are reminding me why I cannot vote for them. And I cannot vote for Kamala, because not even that they're trotting out Kamala now and they whacked Joe Biden just like I said they were gonna. They trotted him out for the debate. The fact that they've hid for years that he was a head of lettuce from the American public. It's not that they go and say, hey, all these videos that the American people see of Joe Biden literally having a dementia moment and being out of it, deep fakes, not real. And then they just reverse course and literally.
That stuff about hating the left, we'll talk about that more towards the end of the video, but let's get on track here. I personally believe that this right here is him regretting his vote, because we told these people these right here were not Democratic people, because they had people believing that this country was a pure democracy. A lot of people who didn't understand civics voted in the last election. I'm glad to see these people are changing their mind. I'm glad to see these people are finally doing their research. I'm happy. My prayers have been answered. These people are beginning to wake up. But I also think in the case of Portnoy, there's also a lot of regret, which, by the way, I may explain at a later date, because I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't still bootlick the Democratic Party and go vote for Kamala Harris. They'll call him racist, whatever, all that type of stuff there, and he'll try to intimidate his audience and tell them that they're racist too, all that type of stuff there. But, Portnoy, he was raising 15 counts of hell because of the abortion issue. But, I think the real reason why he did it is because he realizes that if he gets a girl pregnant, he's got to, be responsible too. But still, at the same time, I'm still glad to see that Portnoy is starting to wake up and realize that the people he voted for weren't exactly Democratic. But let's listen to some more.
Said to him behind doors of what package they came up with. Pelosi, Obama, Clooney, all pushing this old man down a flight of stairs. Forget all that. They did it fine. They hijacked democracy. No other way to say it. Kamala, newsflash, ran for president in 2020. You know how many votes she got? Zero. She was so disliked and such a bad candidate, she didn't make it to the first fucking primary. And I guess she's never going to have to get a real vote, because she's been handpicked on purpose by the people who have been running Joe for the last 2 or 3 years. Now they're going to try to run her and trot her out. It's disgusting. It's a hijacking of democracy. They knew Joe wasn't fit before, and they waited. Fine. All that, fine. Take it with a grain of salt.
Dave, it's really the media that does this. The Democrats just happen to be, an arm or a wing of their party. But let's watch this last bit, all right? Because to me, I think this right here is where it really clamps down.
For the Democrats, like a Rob Reiner, this is the tweet I saw of Rob Reiner that just sent me off. Democracy is saved. Kamala's running. And all these people now, Kamala, AOC, you just said it was a coup 3 days ago, AOC. Now, Kamala. The Democrats and the left, the way they shit on our face and tell us it's 80 and sunny is so infuriating. Just admit you hijacked democracy.
It shouldn't be taken with a grain of salt. If anything, it should be taken more serious than anything. This was a person that the elites in Hollywood that they chose, the coastal elites who are out of touch with the nation itself. It's the person that they chose. Somebody could argue that maybe Biden chose it because he was the first to endorse, but still the point is this right here. Kamala Harris, when she ran for president back in 2020, she did not get a single vote. The biggest reason why she didn't get a single vote is because she dropped out before Iowa. She wasn't going to get a vote anyways, but still at the same time, once her career got knifed and ended by Tulsi Gabbard, yeah, that right there was pretty much the end for her. So you're going back to what you saw in the previous video, how those women reacted. They think that Kamala Harris is nothing more than a diversity hire who, quite frankly, did not earn it. And they're correct. Let's watch some more.
Just admit you don't care if fucking Mussolini or a head of lettuce was running against Trump. You hate him so much, you're willing to trample on democracy, steal the vote from the American public, the most supposedly important right an American has, the right to vote. You have stolen it from the Democratic Party. You have said you don't get to choose who runs for president. We do. A group of elite, small people are going to handpick and shove down your throat who you vote for. Just admit that. But this democracy is saved and America is saved. It's the lowest point for democracy in my life.
Dave is seeing is that he is seeing that the left doesn't really care about the country, that they just care about beating Trump. Now, the reasons why it is they are the way they are is the subject for another video, and I didn't want to make this video that long, especially given all that we have to go through here. But the point is this right here. People, even the quote-unquote normies, those who basically just voted for Biden in 2020 to keep the COVID crap from continuing, because that's the real reason why a lot of them voted, he's starting to see that these people are not exactly what they claim to be. They're a bunch of lying hypocrites. He's starting to see this. He's also starting to see that the left is exactly what I've always said they were. Absolutely insufferable, anti-American, and people who, quite frankly, wish you were 6 feet under. I did say in the video that I did on the Destiny situation, which a lot of lefties didn't like, and basically tried to go out of their way to say that I wasn't refuting any of his arguments, when the video really was not about that. The video was about explaining to you why it was that that particular clown had always been this way. He had always been like this. That people shouldn't give him any sympathy at all. But they should allow his opinions to continue, because the more and more moderate progressives' bad ideas get out there, the more likely it is that the general public will eventually turn on them. And this right here is a good example of it. Maybe Dave Portnoy is starting to see that, hey, look, man, maybe we shouldn't have leftists anywhere near power at all. Maybe we should have Democrats around. I mean, it was Greg Foreman has said this right here. The Officer Brand Tatum said it. I have said it, that I think that the Israel-Palestine situation would, in fact, destroy their party. But now you guys can obviously see this. Not just Israel-Palestine that's going to destroy their party. It's the identity politics, which I said would destroy their party long before the Israel-Palestine situation. One part, the elites combined with the certain colored bourgeoisie, chose her. And now they're going to be ended because of their radicalization. Funny. I'm glad to see Portnoy can finally see it, and hopefully he continues on the path of actually, having some common sense when it comes to politics. Hopefully he can grow to be an actual man rather than just a man-child. But still, at the same time, though, I'm glad to see he's seen the light. With that rather being said, guys, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please tell me what you think in the comments. I'll have some more content out tomorrow. I had to get this video out quickly because I have to run across town to take care of something. It could be a while before I get back. But please, though, please feel free. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you got to say. And I'll see you guys later.